Before we dive into this true story that'll grip your heart and make you question everything you thought was normal, take a second to hit that subscribe button on Brave Animals. We bring you powerful stories where animals become heroes, and today's tale will leave you stunned and grateful. At first, nobody thought much of it, just a dog barking in a backyard. But what if that bark wasn't random? What if that bark stopped a 5-year-old girl from being poisoned by the very woman paid to keep her safe? It was a Tuesday afternoon in the quiet suburb of Everett, Washington. The wind moved gently through the trees, the kind of day that makes you feel like the world is in order. But nothing about that day was ordinary for Officer Nathan Moore and his daughter Emily. Nathan had served with the local police department for over a decade. After his wife passed away 2 years ago, it was just him and Emily. Their family wasn't big, but it was tight. And there was Axel, a retired K-9 German Shepherd who had worked with Nathan on the force. At nearly 10 years old, Axel was graying. Around the muzzle, calm in temperament but no less alert than in his prime. Emily adored Axel. Wherever she went, he followed. Wherever she sat, he laid nearby. Nathan often joked that Axel had appointed himself as her personal Secret Service detail. But when Nathan's shifts started running longer and with no close relatives nearby, he had to bring in help. He hired a babysitter named Janice, recommended through a community app, interviewed thoroughly, background checked. She seemed like a soft-spoken, middle-aged woman who had raised 3 kids of her own. Kind eyes, steady voice, and a seemingly gentle way with children. The first week went fine. Emily laughed, played, and showed no signs of distress. But on the second Tuesday, Axel changed everything. That day, Nathan had left for work at 11:30 a.m. By noon, Janice had prepared lunch for Emily, grilled cheese, tomato soup, and sliced apples. Emily's favorite. They were sitting outside under the shade of the back porch while Axel lounged a few feet away. Then it began. Axel stood up. Not just stood, locked eyes with Janice and started barking. Loud, sharp, persistent. Not the kind of bark that says I'm excited or there's a squirrel. This was different. Focused. Alarmed. Janice froze, startled. "Hush now," she said nervously, waving her hand. "You're scaring Emily." But Axel didn't stop. He moved closer, barking louder. His ears were pinned forward, eyes fixed not on Emily, but on the spoon in Janice's hand, the one filled with soup. Emily looked scared. She flinched. Axel stepped between her and the spoon, barking in a deeper growl now, his body stiff. Then with a sudden jolt, he leapt and knocked the bowl off the table, sending tomato soup splashing onto the patio bricks. "What is wrong with this dog?" Janice yelled, stepping back in alarm. She reached for her phone, saying something about calling animal control. Nathan wasn't home, but Mrs. Green, the elderly neighbor from across the fence, was watering her plants. She peeked over, curious. She had always trusted Axel's instincts more than most people. "You all right? Over there?" she called out. Janice forced a smile and waved. "Dog just being difficult." But Mrs. Green watched a little longer than usual. That night, Nathan returned home and found Axel pacing restlessly near Emily's bedroom door. Emily had told him, "Axel was mean today. He knocked over my lunch." Nathan narrowed his eyes. That wasn't like Axel. He watched Janice on the baby monitor. Nothing unusual. But Axel kept growling softly whenever she walked by. He wasn't aggressive. He was trying to say something. That's when Nathan made a decision most parents wouldn't even think of. Nathan Moore wasn't just a father. He was a trained observer. Years of police work had taught him that behavior, more than words, revealed the truth. And Axel, his old K-9 partner, had just given him a warning he couldn't ignore. That night, after Emily had gone to bed and Janice had clocked out with a too-sweet smile and a wave, Nathan sat on the edge of his couch, replaying everything in his head. Axel lay by the door, still alert, his eyes trained on the hallway as if waiting for something to go wrong. Nathan leaned forward and spoke low. "You saw something, didn't you, boy?" Axel didn't bark, just tilted his head and gave a soft whine. It was enough. The next morning, Nathan told Janice he'd be working from home. He made up a story about needing to file reports. She looked surprised, then smiled in that practiced way again. No problem. Emily and I will just stick to the usual routine, she said, brushing a hand over Emily's hair. Axel gave a low growl in response. Nathan stayed in his study but didn't work. He left the door slightly ajar and watched the monitor feed from a hidden nanny cam he'd installed months earlier and nearly forgotten about. Everything seemed normal at first. Janice helped Emily wash up. They played with blocks, read books. Then lunch hour came. Nathan leaned closer to the screen. Janice entered the kitchen. She glanced over her shoulder, unaware the camera had a clear view of the counter. She reached into her purse and took something out. It was small, metallic. She unscrewed a cap, a syringe. Nathan's heart dropped. Janice poured tomato soup into a bowl and stirred in a small vial of clear liquid. The camera didn't catch the label, but it didn't matter. His hand reached for his phone, but he paused. Emily hadn't eaten yet. Axel began barking outside the study. It wasn't loud, but sharp, controlled, urgent. Nathan burst from the room. He entered the kitchen just as Janice was walking toward Emily with the soup. "Stop right there." Janice jumped. The spoon trembled in her hand. "Oh, Officer Moore. I didn't expect you to put the bowl down. I just made her lunch." Nathan didn't yell. His voice was calm. Too calm. Axel came to his side, staring Janice. "Down. Put it down." She set the bowl on the table and took a step back. Nathan picked it up, sniffed it once, then looked her straight in the eye. "What's in this?" "Nothing. Just soup. I swear. You injected something into it." "No, that's ridiculous. Why would I?" Nathan didn't answer. He placed the bowl in a plastic container and sealed it. Then he turned to Emily, who looked confused, scared. "Sweetheart, go to your room with Axel. Lock the door and wait. For Daddy, okay?" Emily nodded and ran upstairs, Axel close behind her. Janice looked like she might bolt. Nathan blocked the door. "You can sit on that chair and wait for the police, or I'll arrest you right now." Janice's face shifted. For a split second, her carefully built persona cracked. Her lips curled slightly. Then she sat. Nathan called the station. Within 20 minutes, 2 officers arrived and took Janice into custody without incident. The soup was sent to the lab. Nathan followed standard procedure even though his heart was pounding out a father's rage. 2 days later, the results came back. Diphenhydramine, a sedative, in small doses used in allergy meds. In larger doses, it could cause extreme drowsiness, hallucinations, even seizures in children. Nathan's worst fear was confirmed. Janice had been drugging his daughter. The why remained a mystery. That same night, he sat on the couch with Emily asleep upstairs. Axel curled at his feet. Nathan poured himself a glass of water and turned on the local news. And there it was. Breaking news. Janice Rollins, former daycare worker, had been quietly let go from 2 previous families. No charges had ever stuck. Parents suspected something was off but lacked evidence, until now. The story exploded online. People demanded to know why there was no registry for babysitters. Others questioned the safety of home childcare. But one thing was clear. Axel was a heroism. By the weekend, Nathan had turned down 3 interview requests and 1 book offer. He wasn't looking for fame. He just wanted to breathe again. He sat Emily down gently and told her the truth in kid-friendly words. Sometimes people pretend to be nice, but they do bad things. Axel was trying to protect you. That's why he barked. Emily looked down, then hugged Axel around the neck. "He's my best friend. He saved my lunch." Nathan smiled. "He saved more than that." A week later, the mayor stopped by with a commendation letter. Axel was given an honorary Medal of Bravery by the department. A local bakery made dog-shaped cookies and gave them away free with a photo of Axel. The press called him the dog who barked at evil. But Nathan didn't need the headlines. Every night since that day, Axel had slept beside Emily's bed, head on his paws, ears twitching at every sound. And Nathan knew. No matter what darkness found its way into the world, it would never make it past that dog again. Nathan Moore didn't sleep well the week after Janice was arrested. Even with the locks changed, cameras updated, and security tightened around the house, something inside him refused to rest. Maybe it was the quiet. Too quiet. The kind that felt like the world was holding its breath before another storm. Axel was as vigilant as ever. The retired K9 had slipped right back into duty mode, sleeping by Emily's bedroom door, rising with every creak in the floorboards. Nathan had bought him a new orthopedic bed, but Axel rarely used it. Loyalty always won out over comfort. One evening, Nathan found himself back at his desk thumbing through a file he'd printed out but hadn't yet opened. It was Janice's history. Her arrest had triggered a deeper investigation. With the help of a friend at the department, Nathan was given access to sealed civil complaints involving her. Nothing had ever made it to trial. No formal charges, just whispers. Parents who had fired her without explanation. A child with odd stomach pains that stopped after the nanny was let go. But no proof. Until now. He turned page after page and something caught his attention. An address. The first family Janice had worked for after her divorce was in Tacoma. Nathan leaned back in his chair. That couldn't be right. He picked up his phone and called one of his oldest friends, Detective Sean Miller, now stationed in Tacoma. "I need a favor," Nathan said. Sean didn't ask questions. An hour later, Sean called back. "You're not going to like this," he warned. "What?" "Your wife's name came up in a daycare file, from back when she was sick." Nathan felt something cold settle in his chest. "Are you saying Janice worked at the center Clara took Emily to?" "She was a substitute, on and off, covered for sick staff for about 3 months. Nathan closed his eyes. That was the same period when Clara had reported Emily being unusually tired, sometimes even nauseous. Doctors had written it off as childhood viruses. But Axel hadn't been with them then. Emily was too young to remember. Clara had brushed it off eventually, but now Nathan saw it differently. Janice hadn't randomly applied to be Emily's nanny. She had remembered her, maybe even targeted her. Nathan hung up and stared out the window for a long time. Axel sat beside him, watching his every move as if sensing the growing weight inside his partner's chest. "What kind of monster?" Nathan muttered. "Remembers a child and comes back years later?" He didn't tell Emily what he had learned. He just held her a little tighter at bedtime and sat longer beside her as she drifted to sleep. That weekend, the local news station aired a feature on Axel. They showed footage from his police days, images of him sniffing out contraband, helping in search and rescue efforts. They played the 911 audio from the day Nathan had stopped Janice. The final clip showed Axel, metal hanging from his collar, sitting proudly beside Emily on the front porch. The video went viral. Strangers sent thank you notes, toys, dog treats, and even artwork. Emily was delighted. She painted a picture of Axel with a superhero cape and taped it to the fridge. But while the world celebrated, Nathan couldn't shake the truth gnawing at him. Janice hadn't just been unstable. She had been deliberate. One morning, Nathan received a call from the prosecutor's office. They had more than enough to move forward with formal charges, not just for Emily, but for potential prior victims. Families were coming forward. Still, the process would take months. That night, Nathan took Axel for a long walk. Just the two of them. They moved quietly through the familiar streets of Everett, lit by soft porch lights and the occasional bark of another dog in the distance. "I don't know what I would have done if she'd succeeded," Nathan said aloud. Axel walked a little closer to his side. "She fooled me. I brought her into our home." He stopped walking and knelt next to his dog. "But not you. You never took your eyes off her." Axel licked Nathan's hand once, then looked toward the house. They both turned back home. As fall deepened, Nathan tried to bring routine back into their lives. He enrolled Emily in a local dance class, started baking again on weekends, and even let Emily help feed Axel every morning. But one night, Emily came to him holding her blanket and whispered something he wasn't ready for. "Daddy, is she coming back?" Nathan froze. No, honey, she's not coming back. Because Axel barked? He nodded. Yeah. Because Axel protected you. Emily looked up with serious eyes, the way only a child could when something finally clicked. Then we have to protect Axel too. Nathan hugged her, hard. You're right. We protect each other. From then on, Emily refused to sleep without saying goodnight to Axel first. She brushed his fur every evening, left an extra treat in his bowl and told him stories before bed. Stories where he was the main character. Stories where the villain never stood a chance. One day a package arrived. No return address. Just a box filled with handwritten letters from parents around the country. Some thanked Axel, some shared their own close calls. One letter read, I used to think only humans were capable of sensing evil. I was wrong. Thank you, Axel, for reminding me that sometimes the best instincts don't come from us. Nathan read it 3 times. He placed the letter in a small wooden box and added it to the living room shelf. He looked over at Axel, sleeping peacefully, for once. Justice would come in time. But in their house the hero had already been named, and no badge, no title, no viral video could ever say it better than Emily's drawing on the fridge, a dog, a cape, and the words in crayon above it, my best friend saved me. The mornings were getting colder in Everett, and Emily had started pulling her sleeves over her hands like tiny mittens. She still smiled, still danced when her favorite songs played, but Nathan could see the difference. It was in the way she hesitated before eating something new. It was in the way she jumped when the doorbell rang. It was in the way she clung to Axel now. Not like a kid with a dog, but like someone holding on to the last piece of safety in the world. Nathan knew trauma didn't always scream. Sometimes it whispered. He sat across from Dr. Hannah Fields, a child therapist recommended by another officer on the force. Her office had pastel walls, beanbag chairs, and the faint smell of lavender. She's holding it together, Nathan said, but something's still stuck, like she's afraid to let go. Dr. Fields nodded. That's normal for her age. Emily went through something she couldn't understand, but she felt the danger. And now her brain is trying to protect her the only way it knows how, by staying alert. Hypervigilance, Nathan said. Exactly. And unfortunately, children often blame themselves without knowing they're doing it. Nathan leaned back and exhaled. What can I do? Dr. Fields gave a small smile. You're already doing the most important thing. You're showing up. But if you're open to it, I'd like to try something new with her, something that involves Axel. Nathan raised an eyebrow. You want to include the dog in therapy? Yes. Emily doesn't trust people right now, but she clearly trusts Axel. If we bring him into our sessions, she may open up in ways she can't with just me. Nathan considered it for all of 2 seconds. Let's try. The next week, Emily walked into Dr. Fields' office holding Axel's leash with both hands like it was a lifeline. Axel trotted beside her, calm and steady, his vest embroidered with a patch that read, Retired Not Done. Dr. Fields greeted them on the floor at eye level and offered Emily a box of crayons and a large sheet of paper. Today I want to play a drawing game, she said. We're going to tell a story with pictures, but not just any story. One, about a brave girl and her brave dog. Emily looked at the crayons, then at Axel. What kind of story? Any kind you want. You get to be the author, and Axel will be your helper. For the first 10 minutes, Emily was silent. She drew slowly, with short strokes glancing up at Axel often. Then something shifted. She picked a red crayon, drew a house, a girl, a dog with big eyes, a woman with sharp teeth. Nathan watched from the observation room. His chest tightened as the story unfolded. She's drawing the day it happened, Dr. Field said quietly beside him. Then Emily added something unexpected, a lock on the girl's bedroom door and a star over the dog's head. She remembers more than I thought, Nathan whispered. Children always do, the therapist replied. At the end of the session, Emily smiled for the first time in days. Can I keep the picture? She asked. Of course, Dr. Field said. That story belongs to you. At home. Emily pinned the drawing to her wall above her bed. Axel sat beneath it as if claiming it too. Therapy became their new routine. Every Thursday at 4, Emily and Axel would go in together. Some days they played, some days they talked. Some days they just sat and colored in silence, but the healing was real. It was slow, but it was real. Nathan noticed it in the way Emily started laughing again, in how she helped Axel get dressed in his vest and boots like it was their shared mission, in how she stopped flinching when someone knocked at the door. One afternoon after therapy, Emily turned to her dad and asked, "Do other kids have dogs like Axel?" "Some do," Nathan said, "but not all of them." "That's not fair," she said seriously. "No, it's not." She was quiet a moment, then said, "Maybe we can help them." Nathan tilted his head. "Help them how? Like, write to them, or send them pictures of Axel, so they know they're not alone." Nathan blinked, floored by the simplicity and power of that idea. "Yeah, we could do that." That night they made a plan. They created a little bravery box for kids who had gone through scary things. Inside, they put a plush German shepherd, a hand-drawn card from Emily, and a printed photo of Axel with the words, "You are brave too." With help from Dr. Fields, they started identifying families quietly, through social workers, through the station. No names, no press, just quiet acts of kindness from one little girl and her dog. And every time a box was mailed, Emily would stand at the mailbox with Axel and whisper, "Go get him." 2 months later, the day of Janice's preliminary hearing arrived. Nathan debated whether to take Emily. In the end, he decided against it, but he went. Not in uniform, not as an officer. As a father. He watched Janice enter the courtroom in a beige jumpsuit, eyes dull, hands cuffed. She avoided his gaze. The judge read the charges. The prosecution presented evidence, including the lab results and the nanny cam footage. She said nothing. When it was over, the judge ruled to move forward with trial. As Nathan turned to leave, someone tapped his shoulder. A man, mid-40s, with tired eyes and a tight grip on a worn baseball cap. "You the guy with the dog?" Nathan nodded. The man's voice cracked. "She worked for us too, a few years back. My son, he got sick for weeks. We never knew why. Now we do. So thank you for not letting it slide." Nathan didn't have words. He just gripped the man's hand tight. Outside, the sun was starting to set. Golden light stretched across the parking lot. Nathan pulled out his phone and called. "Emily, you and Axel okay?" he asked. "We're good," she said. "Axel's watching a squirrel. He's winning." Nathan smiled. "Tell him I said thanks." "I already did," Emily replied. "Every day." Nathan hung up and looked toward the horizon. Healing didn't come in waves. It came in tiny steps, in drawings, in plush dogs, in cardboard boxes, in quiet car rides home, in a 5-year-old girl who survived, and in a dog who never stopped barking when it mattered most. It was a Monday morning when Emily finally said the words Nathan had been waiting to hear. "Daddy, I think I'm ready to go back." He almost dropped his coffee. "Back where, sweetheart?" "To school," she said, her voice small but steady. It had been nearly 3 months since the incident with Janice. 3 months of home activities, therapy sessions, baking cookies, and Axel guarding every step Emily took like a silent, 4-legged guardian angel. Nathan set his mug down and crouched in front of her. "Are you sure?" Emily nodded. "I want to see my friends again. And Mrs. Kelly said she misses me." Nathan smiled. "I know she does. She asks about you every week." Emily looked at Axel. "But I want him to come too." Nathan blinked. "Like, to school?" "Yes, just for a little bit. Maybe he can walk me in." Nathan thought about it. Technically, Axel wasn't a service dog, but he was registered as a retired police K9 with emotional support certification. It wouldn't be impossible. And the truth was, Nathan wanted Axel there too. After a few calls, emails, and a quick meeting with the principal, everything was arranged. Wednesday. Morning arrived, bright and cool, the air tinged with fall. Emily stood by the front door, dressed in her favorite purple hoodie and jeans, clutching Axel's leash like a handle to her courage. Axel wore his vest again, the patch read, "Bravery, buddy." Nathan drove them to school in silence, watching Emily in the rearview mirror. She looked out the window, one hand resting on Axel's back. When they pulled up to Evergreen Elementary, the parking lot buzzed with the usual energy of drop-off time. Kids ran toward the building. Parents sipped coffee and called goodbyes. Teachers greeted students by name. But when Emily stepped out, everything paused. Axel followed her closely. Walking in step, his head held high, ears perked, tail calm and steady. The school counselor, Mrs. Mayers, met them at the entrance. "Hi, Emily," she said gently. "It's so good to see you." Emily smiled nervously and reached for Nathan's hand. Axel stood between them. "Can he come in?" Emily whispered. Mrs. Mayers knelt to eye level. "He can. He's your hero, right?" Emily nodded. They walked together through the hall. Students peeked out of classrooms. Some waved, others stared in awe. A few whispered, "That's the dog from the news." In her classroom, Mrs. Kelly knelt and opened her arms. "Welcome back, and we missed you." Emily hesitated at the door, then took a step forward. Axel went with her, like always. Nathan stayed in the hallway, heart pounding. Emily walked up to Mrs. Kelly and gave her a quiet hug. Then she turned around, waved to her dad, and said, "You can go now." Nathan nearly lost it. Axel returned to the hallway and sat beside Nathan, calm as ever. "That girl," Nathan whispered, rubbing Axel's head, "is stronger than both of us." Axel licked his hand in agreement. Emily's return to school made headlines. Local papers picked up the story again, this time focusing on resilience. A child who had survived something dark but who came back stronger, with her canine partner at her side. The district even invited Nathan and Axel to speak during an assembly about safety and courage. Nathan hesitated at first. He wasn't a fan of the spotlight. But Emily begged him, "Please? I want the other kids to know they can be brave too." So they said yes. The gymnasium was packed. Fourth graders fidgeted on the bleachers. First graders clutched their teachers' hands. Parents were invited too, and a few local reporters stood near the back. Emily sat in the front row, wearing a shirt that said, "Axel's team." Nathan walked up to the mic with Axel beside him. "Hi everyone, I'm Officer Moore. Some of you know me as Emily's dad." A few giggles from the crowd, he smiled. "Today I'm here to talk about listening. Not just with your ears, but with your heart. Because sometimes the people or animals who care about you will see danger before you do." He told the story carefully, omitting the worst parts but making it clear. Axel had protected Emily from something very bad. Because he trusted his instincts, because he never stopped watching. Then he looked down at Axel, and because he loves her. The room was quiet, until a tiny voice from the bleachers shouted, "Axel's a hero!" Then came the applause. Emily ran up to the stage, gave Axel a hug, and held up a drawing for everyone to see. It was a picture of her and Axel standing in front of her school, with big letters at the top. "Everyone needs a hero." The crowd melted. In the weeks that followed, something beautiful happened. Kids who had never spoken in class began to share their own stories. One little boy talked about being scared at home. A teacher referred him to a counselor. Another girl confessed she'd been afraid to sleep alone since her parents split up. She started therapy too. It was like Axel had opened a door, and inside was a room where fear could be named, understood, and gently walked through. All because of one dog who refused to stay silent. At home, life began to settle. Emily started sleeping, with her door open again. Nathan finally took a day off to go fishing. Axel, he kept his spot by the front door, eyes half closed but always listening. One afternoon, Emily sat on the porch steps coloring while Axel lay beside her. "Daddy," she said suddenly. Do you think Axel knows he saved me? Nathan looked up from the porch swing. I think he knows exactly what he did. Emily nodded. Then I'm gonna save him too. Nathan smiled. From what? From being forgotten. That night, Emily asked if they could make a scrapbook of Axel's life. Pictures from his police days, his medals, drawings from other kids. Nathan helped her print everything. They used glue sticks, markers, and stickers. At the end, Emily wrote the title in big bold letters, Axel, the dog who barked at the right time. Nathan closed the scrapbook and kissed her forehead. I think that's the best title I've ever heard. Emily yawned. I think Axel should write a book. Nathan laughed. He kind of already did. The courthouse in Snohomish County looked more like a school building than a place where lives could change. It was plain, gray, with aging brick walls and the smell of old paper and coffee in the air. But on the day of Janice Rollins' trial, it might as well have been a coliseum. Nathan adjusted his tie in the mirror of the courthouse restroom. He hated wearing suits. But today wasn't about comfort. It was about closure. He looked down at Axel, sitting patiently at his side wearing his polished K9 badge on a simple black collar. Axel had been granted special permission to be in the courtroom, not just because of his service record, but because he was part of the evidence, the silent witness who had changed everything. Nathan took a breath, straightened his back, and walked out. Inside the courtroom, the benches were filled. Local reporters, community members, even a few families who had once hired Janice but never knew what had happened behind closed doors. Emily sat in the front row beside Dr. Fields and a school counselor. She clutched her stuffed toy version of Axel, a smaller look-alike with a stitched-on badge and big felt ears. Nathan sat beside her and smiled. You doing okay? She nodded. I'm brave. Just like you said. He touched her hand gently. You always were. The trial began. The prosecutor laid out the evidence with calm precision. Surveillance footage, lab reports, interviews from prior families. No theatrics, just truth. Janice sat with her lawyer, silent, eyes downward. She didn't look at Emily. She didn't look at Nathan. She didn't even glance at Axel, who sat upright near the witness stand, still and steady. The defense tried to argue mental instability, stress, lack of intention, but nothing could explain away what had been found in that soup, or the vial of sedatives discovered in her purse, or the pattern of mysterious illnesses in households she had worked in. Then came the moment that made the courtroom hold its breath. Emily was asked if she wanted to speak. Nathan had left the choice entirely to her. No pressure, but she had said yes. She walked up to the stand slowly, holding her plush Axel to her chest, and climbed onto the chair with the help of a bailiff. The judge asked her gently if she understood what it meant to tell the truth. Emily nodded. My dad says telling the truth is how we stay strong. There were a few soft smiles around the room. The prosecutor kept the questions simple. Do you remember what happened that day? Emily nodded again. Can you tell us what you felt? I was scared, she said. But Axel barked. He knew something was wrong. He stopped me from eating the soup, and that's when Daddy knew. She paused, looked down, then looked up again. She didn't like Axel. She tried to say he was bad, but he wasn't. He was trying to protect me. The room was so quiet, you could hear the faint scratch of a pen. The prosecutor smiled gently. Thank you, Emily. That was very brave. Emily climbed down and walked back to her seat. Axel met her halfway. She hugged his neck tightly and whispered something only he could hear. The judge took less than an hour to return the verdict, guilty on all counts. Janice would face a lengthy sentence, but more than that, the court ordered a public registry for childcare workers with records of serious misconduct, starting in Washington and already gaining traction in neighboring states. Justice wasn't just punishment. It was protection for the future. After the trial, reporters waited outside the courthouse. Nathan stepped up to the microphones, Emily and Axel by his side. He kept it short. We're not here for fame. We're here because listening to your instincts and Your dogs can save a life. Axel didn't bark for attention. He barked because something was wrong. And we chose to listen. He looked down at Axel, then back at the cameras. Sometimes the greatest hero in the room isn't the loudest one. It's the one who never gives up. With that, he stepped away, ignoring the flashing bulbs and questions. Emily squeezed his hand. Can we go home now? Nathan smiled. Yes, sweetheart. Let's go home. The seasons changed. The headlines faded. But the scrapbook Emily made for Axel kept growing. More drawings, more letters, stories from kids all across the country who had heard about her and Axel. Some had been through their own hard moments. Others just wanted to say thanks. One night, while putting away laundry, Nathan found Emily sitting at her window, staring out at the stars. What's up, Bug? She looked at him, her expression thoughtful. Do you think Axel will get old and forget what he did? Nathan sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. No, because he didn't just do something great. He changed lives. And when you change lives, your story doesn't get forgotten. People remember, people carry it forward. Emily leaned her head against his arm. I'm going to carry it too. I know you will. Years from now, maybe Emily would tell the story in a classroom, or write it in a college essay, or whisper it to her own child beside a different window. Maybe Axel's picture would hang on a wall, next to a medal and a newspaper clipping yellowed with age. But what mattered most had already happened. A child was saved. A man learned to trust more deeply than he ever thought possible. A community paid attention, and a dog barked, loud enough for the world to hear. Life lesson for the audience. Not all heroes wear badges. Some wear fur and never speak a word. But their actions scream louder than any siren. Sometimes the voice that saves us isn't a voice at all, it's a bark. A feeling in your gut. A moment that tells you to stop and pay attention. So, here's our question for you. Have you ever ignored your instincts? And what might have changed? If you had listened, let us know in the comments. And if Axel's story touched your heart, consider sharing it with someone who needs to be reminded that even in silence, heroes are watching.